The big story here is Mourinho. And let's be honest, I don't think there's a United fan out there who can hold their hand on the heart and say, we're a club going in the right direction. We have the right man in charge. We have made the right signings. We are playing great football. I can see light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think there is a United fan out there, and certainly I've not met one, that can say that. It is time for change, whether it be Ed Woodward or Jose Mourinho or both. But time for change is at this club now. They're going nowhere. Their football is stuck behind Liverpool, Spurs and Man City. And the discourse and the atmosphere and the toxic presence at the club is there for all to see. And it starts with the manager, and he's probably going to have to go first.
Interesting, in the post-match press conference, he storms off. He says, we did prepare well for this game. He also says 3-0 score. That number 3 is the same as the Premier League titles he has, which is more than the other 19 managers combined. I know we get killed for saying it's classic Mourinho shtick, but it feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and what does it have to do with the fact that you just lost 3-0 at home against Spurs? And see, I always find it interesting when managers, after they lose at home 3-0, that they come out and say, well, we were prepared for this. Well, were you? Really? Because that's even more an indictment on you as a manager. If you're saying that your team was fully prepared and this is the best that you could come up with, and then you lose 3-0 at home, then it says a lot about what's going on behind closed door in this club. The other thing I'd say is that it's now turned to the point to where it's almost as if when you look at Jose Mourinho going and clapping for seemingly was 5 minutes or so, and just kind of doing a lap around when clapping to the fans, it's almost as if he's making a case for himself. It's like, look, this is somebody else. I appreciate you fans. I know that you are special to me and I'm special to you. And I appreciate your heartache and the fact that you are supporting us and we're going to get this right. And now, I don't know what's happening over there. Whoever's making the decisions and not getting me the players, I can't do anything about that. But I'm here for you and I'm here with you. When you're singling yourself out like that and the team has already gone into the tunnel, now you're making it, of course, about yourself. And when you do that, then all of us are going to see it and are going to say, come on, man. Come on, man. You just lost at home 3-0.
Are we impressed with the comeback from Roma or more worried about the shambolic defending?
I would suggest that as you just called it, shambolic defending, it's troublesome because you're playing against a team in Atalanta that is really going to be mid-table, if that, in Italy. And it was so easy. It's not like there was a whole lot of combination. It's just a couple of passes and they're through. And they're through in 1v1 situations against the goalkeeper. It was so easy, so stretched that Roma was. And then the two center-backs, which I've criticized in the past, Fazio and Manolas. Sometimes Manolas tries to be too aggressive. He overplays and then leaves Fazio in 2v1 situations. Fazio doesn't have the speed. And on top of that, you don't have really transition in recovery defensively from the midfield because De Rossi simply cannot cover the ground that he once was able to do. I know Roma fans are sensitive, but I will tell you, with that sort of defending, this team is not going to be able to challenge Juventus.
Stevie, was it as bad as it looked?
Absolutely, no question. Listen, they've shown us they can score goals, not just this season, but last season. But really, I mean, absolutely no pace whatsoever. And I'm sorry, you get rid of a guy like Strootman who had lost a yard, and you keep De Rossi, who's lost 3 or 4 yards. I mean, the truth is, they're going to be under pressure the whole season unless they change what's going on in the middle of the park.
Well, they will change it because, it's clear where the problems are. The problems are at the back. And one of the ways they can address that is, one, by a personnel change or changes, and two, by getting Nzonzi up to speed quickly. And because if he playing in front of the back four is a much better shield than De Rossi at his age. Yeah. De Rossi's been a great player, but as the boys mentioned, he can't cover the ground anymore. And Nzonzi's one of the best in that position, at blocking, at breaking things up, at covering for people, and set pieces, and he's passing as well. So the sooner he gets into the starting lineup and up to speed, the better for Roma.
Let's bring in Mina Rzouki, our ESPNFC.com Serie A correspondent. Mina, you agree with what you're hearing from the guys here on Roma's defense?
Yes and no. I think it's important to point out that in Roma's home ground. They haven't yet, since 2014, won against Atalanta. I know that they've just been described by Ali as a mid-table team, but they are a side that always cause panic to many of the major sides in Italy. And what's important right now is they're in peak physical form. Well, perhaps not peak, but they're doing very well because they started the season early. They're playing their qualifiers for the Europa League, so physically they're quick, they're ambitious, and I know that they didn't play all their best starters, but I think that matters because you could see they were quicker to the ball, quicker with their thoughts, understanding each other in a way that perhaps we can expect from Roma in 5 games' time. But I think also with Roma that you could hear a lot of booing when Atalanta started to push through. And that's largely because of the fact that this side keeps changing and keeps losing some of its best players. You mentioned Kevin Strootman, who provides the physicality. They obviously lost Rajan Angolan, who's not only a physical presence, but a goal-scoring one, an intelligent player, and really an icon. More importantly as well, you saw with their goalkeeping, not really looking as confident as the likes of Alisson was when he was there. So the fans are a little bit angry at the fact that they keep changing the team. But what I think is important is that we just give Di Francesco a little bit more time. He needs to find his tactical balance in much the same way that Allegri will have to as well, even though he was boasting stars. But Atalanta are always a side that are going to scare, and I don't think they're ever one that you can sort of say, it's okay, it's just a mid-level team. They know how to spring a surprise or two.
2 games, 14 shots, 0 goals. What does that tell us about the transition? Nothing?
Tells us nothing. And there are some clowns out there that have been saying, well, you know, this is just Serie A. I mean, I get it, you know, the players playing in Italy want to make a point. I get that, but so did the players playing in Spain. There has been many seasons, including last, where Cristiano Ronaldo's been slow out the blocks and hasn't got on the score sheet. Been quite a few of those, but certainly, and historically, the last couple of seasons, I think he's had much more barren spells and then he's came good. So this is nothing more than a guy just trying to find his feet at a new club with new players. And by the way, lesser players, with all due respect, at the moment in Juventus, because Real Madrid have been dominating Europe for the last 3 or 4 years. So he's moved to a team that the quality has been a little bit down, as good a squad as they've got. So I don't think there's any doubt that he'll come good. I just think, you know, he's had a slow start and he's had it before.
Ale, they're using him in different ways. Did he look better in week 2?
Well, and I think that's more the point as to what's going on with Cristiano Ronaldo. They're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with Cristiano? Because he's going to have the freedom to go wherever he wants in that final third. But then what do the other guys around Cristiano Ronaldo have to adjust? Where are the spaces that they're going to be able to attack? When he was at his best in Real Madrid over the last couple of years in terms of goal scoring productivity, he would start on the left, but would float into the box as a guy that appears in the 18-yard box and gets on the end of service. I don't think it would be best for him to just start out as an out-and-out striker in a central position. Just give him the freedom to roam. Have Mandzukic play down the middle. He'll be the hold-up player, and then Ronaldo will run off of him. Or, as Mandzukic makes a run into the box, he appears in the far post with a header. It's the sort of thing that Ronaldo did very well with Real Madrid. And, oh, by the way, it's the sort of thing that would have allowed him to score his first goal had he not missed a tap-in, it was a tap-in, and that would be the second goal for Mandzukic.
Stevie, you agree with Ale that Ronaldo should have the freedom to roam?
He actually did both things. He both started through the middle and then he ended up going in a wide position, which is exactly what he was doing at the end of his time at Real Madrid, starting up the pipe and going wide. So it's going to be about Juventus, everybody else in Juventus adjusting to when he does both things. So when he goes wide, it's going to have to be on Mandzukic to understand that and get himself in the middle. Otherwise, there'll be nobody in the box.
Let's be honest, I think if Ronaldo saved the bulk of his goals for the Champions League, then Juventus would be pretty happy. Right. Because, you know, they've been winning the Scudetto with their eyes closed for the last couple of years. All right, it's been a little bit more difficult last season, particularly with Napoli. But let's be honest, he's in here to bag those Champions League goals that he did with such regularity for Real Madrid.
Welcome into Extra Time. Craig, Ale, Stevie, and Seb. We got your questions.
Where's Seb?
And Seb.
Seb. I don't even have time to say my full name. All right, let's get to the questions then. Soccer Thoughts wants to know, how much longer does Mourinho have? Craig?
How long is this segment?
Too long.
Has he got that long? I don't know what. He could be gone by the time we finish this segment.
There you go. You think so? That quick? Would you get rid of him?
I wouldn't be shocked if he wasn't gone.
End of the week.
End of the week.
Really?
I wouldn't be shocked. Absolute shambles.
Craig?
Man United these days.
If you're Manchester United, I think you have to learn from Chelsea's experience a couple of years ago with Mourinho, and you cannot allow it to get to the point to where it's now it poisons the rest of the season. And so, if you're going to make this decision, I think sooner is better than later.
The other side of this is Mourinho's perspective. Ahmed wants to know, should Mourinho just resign? Players constantly letting him down, Ed Woodward not backing him, and media, like you,
No. Include yourself because Seb is here.
I did.
Mourinho's perspective.
Yeah.
He just got beat 3-0 at home. The place is in an absolute shambles. Old Trafford's in turmoil.
Well, but he's clapping for the fans at Old
he's
Trafford.
clapping the fans. And at the press conference, the only thing he'll talk about is how he has won 3 Premier League
Did you
titles.
know that? That's more than the other 19 managers combined.
What does that tell you what he's thinking? Do you think he's... Oh, I should take responsibility for this. Yeah, right.
Who signed Bailly? I know he didn't play.
That's Mourinho.
Who signed Lindelof?
That would be Mourinho.
He's got one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Didn't sign him, but he's got him.
That Alexis doesn't use him.
He signed Alexis on gazillions a week, puts him on the bench. He re-signed Fellaini. I know he didn't sign him. He signed Paul Pogba. He signed Matic. He signed Lukaku. I'm saying.
Yeah. That's Mourinho.
It's on him.
I mean, he hasn't signed them all, but he signed a lot.
And those guys weren't cheap. So you can't totally...
He didn't play... was it Woodward that played Herrera at right centre back?
No, it wasn't Woodward. No.
You can't play... If you play
Back three.
If you play a midfielder at right-sided centre back, don't be shocked if the other 2 centre halves squeeze up and he's in Cloud Cuckoo land. Because he ain't thinking like a defender or a centre half. He's thinking like a midfielder, which means he's all over the shop because he's having to think about where he needs to be all the time because it's not natural for him. So if you put him there, that's what's going to happen.
Next question from Hazem. He wants to know, what do you make of Tottenham's squad? People made it a big deal when they didn't sign any players. Are we maybe going to change our evaluation of what we think of Spurs after this result against United?
Why?
Because they won. It was impressive at Old Trafford, a place they have really struggled.
If Tottenham's opposition every week, or every time you step on the field, they've got Anders Herrera at centre-back, then I fancy them big time. But that ain't going to happen. Right. So you have to look at it from the point of view of where Manchester United are right now. Yes, Spurs didn't sign anybody. So does that mean that they're going to be better this year than they were last year? And most of us would say no. But there's 2 other sides who have gotten better, Manchester City and Liverpool. So it's hard to try and turn around and say that, yes, they can win the title.
Is that what today's more about? We learned more about Manchester United than we did about Spurs.
I think we confirmed things about Manchester United, that this team is fractured, this team is divided, that the moment that ball went in by was it Kane at the time, and all of a sudden the game was over.
Harry Kane. Harold.
What?
Well, but we've already referenced him in the segment, so I feel like it's okay for Alan.
Have you got any more questions?
Nope, I don't.
Well, that's all right, because we're just going to keep talking. If I keep talking or one of the boys keeps talking, there's a chance you're going to miss your flight.
Which would be a highlight. Highlight for all of us.
I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking...
Yeah, I'm doing the math
here. You ain't got much chance here, so I might just keep rabbiting on a little bit.
Carry Kane,
I just so appreciate my colleagues.
Who's that team that plays in Italy?
Crotone.
No, Crouton. He plays for AC Milan, doesn't he? Crouton.
You know, this is definitely not the last day before I have like a week of vacation. I'm not desperate to get home right now.
And his favourite food's soup. Can you believe that? His favourite meal is soup.
You just hate Italian football.
I love Italian food, though.
Yeah, you do.
All right, why don't we tell the good
And you don't play it up either.
All right, somebody just roll the graphic. There's a promo here that brings this to an end and gets me out of here.
There's no graphic at the end of this.
The old Croutones.
There it is.
The old Croutones in
Unless you're
there.
listening on the podcast, then you don't see the graphic.
Get me old Croutones in there.
Croutones, huh? FC Croutone.
FC Crouton.
Crouton.
He's a big fan. He's a big
fan of
fan.
Crouton.
There are only a couple of months left of the regular season in MLS, and we are ready to see if Ali's ready to deliver his top 6 for playoff contention. Do you think you can call it 100% Ali? In the East, we'll start there.
Are you asking me to call it, or are you saying, can I call it? I don't quite understand what the premise of this is we're doing.
What do you think is your top 6?
Okay, all right. We're going to go with Atlanta, number 1. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one, right?
Safe bet.
Okay. After that, I like what NYCFC is doing. New York Red Bull. And then it starts getting a little interesting. I think Columbus, even though there's uncertainty as to what the future of the club is going to be, they continue to put out good performances. Columbus will make it into the playoffs. And now we get into the really interesting part. My former team, Philadelphia Union. Well, one of my former teams, Philadelphia Union. They've had a good second half of the season, good results, getting productivity from a lot of players and a lot of different names. I think they do enough. Now, where is the drama? Where is it going to come from? It could be Toronto. Everything points that these guys, they're going to get it right. That there's going to be a run in them. That there's a lot of talent. They're the defending champions. But I've been asking that question for about 4 months now. So I'm not about to give them the benefit of the doubt. I did early on in the season. I thought it was going to happen. I still maintain that they could make a run for it. But it's going to be, right now, currently as we sit, they're even at 27 points with DC United. DC United has 2 games in hands, and I like the momentum of DC United. The addition of Wayne Rooney has worked. DC United.
I'm with you.
Somewhere, somehow, from the depths of the darkness of the bottom of the Eastern Conference, they make a run, and they get that 6th spot in the Eastern Conference playoffs.
And several games in hand over the teams currently in that top 6
Yeah.
as well. So it could be a very interesting fight to the end.
Yeah.
Toronto missing out. Can you believe it?
Well, I can't. Can you?
I can now.
Well, and you know what? They're going to have to believe it because they had plenty of opportunities to get themselves right, and they didn't.
Still 2 months, as we say, but this is as Ali stands, his top 6 for the East. 2 months left in the regular season in MLS, and in the West, the playoff picture hotting up, as it is in the East. Alejandro Moreno's here to share his thoughts on your top 6 as it stands, Ali.
Hotting up? Is that what we went with? Okay.
I like hotting up.
Yeah, that's nice.
Better than cooling down.
Yes, speaking of hotting up, Sporting Kansas City. They've been excellent. I think in the end, they'll be better than FC Dallas. So we're going to give them number 1. But FC Dallas will hang around long enough for them to be number 2. LAFC has been impressive in their expansion season. They'll be overtaken by a very hot Seattle Sounders that continues to play well. LAFC will make it, though, into the playoffs and being number 4. And now we get into where people are going to get a little excited and a little stressed out. LA Galaxy right now ahead of Portland. But I do think that Portland has games in hand, and they will make it into that 5th spot. Did I get that right? Did I get that right?
They don't want to go. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, apparently they don't want to go. Not the way they've been playing over the last couple of weeks. However, they'll make it in, and now it's when it gets a little tight. A little tight. Minnesota could make a run. Houston could make a run. Do we have anybody left here? Real Salt Lake could make a run. Right now they're in, but they're going to be out in the end. And in is going to be my MLS daddy, my guy, Sigi Schmidt, with a goal with Zlatan Ibrahimovic that puts him into that 6th spot and gives him an opportunity in the playoffs.
Zlatan won't allow them to fail, surely.
Well, I don't know. I'm not that close with Zlatan, so...
It just can't happen.
Well, I am close with Sigi.
If he can make it happen.
Sigi will get this team into the playoff. After that, who knows what happens.
All right, happy with that. So that's the top 6 as it stands. Still 2 months to go, though. Games in hand for some of those teams, as Ali mentioned. We'll see how it all plays out. Keep it here, ESPN FC. How irreplaceable is Mesut Ozil? According to Arsenal's result at the weekend, not that irreplaceable. Ali, how does Unai Emery either get the best out of this guy or work on a way of filtering him out of the team?
It's always difficult when a new manager comes in and you have essentially an elephant in the room. And that, in this case, is Mesut Ozil, because the guy just re-signed. And he's making a chunk of money. And he has been comfortable for many years. And if you're Unai Emery, you're trying to work in a way in which you can use the talents of this player and you can use his abilities. But if he doesn't fit your mentality, if he doesn't fit the psychology of the team that you want to implement, if he doesn't fit your overall plans, then it becomes that idea of a little give and take. You're not going to change at this point in his career what Mesut Ozil is. And so, do you work around it? Or do you simply say, we're not going to use you? I think he's too good of a player to just say, we're not going to use you. And I don't think that Arsenal is good enough of a team to just say, you know what, Mesut, we don't need you. So this is when managing takes place. This is when coaching takes place. It's not only, hey, we got to complete this pass here, and we got to play with this formation, and we got to do this and set up the team this way. No. At this level, it's also about managing Mesut Ozil. But nobody has really been figuring out how to do that. Arsene Wenger wasn't able to figure out how to get the best of him in a consistent way. There were times in which you would say, man, Mesut Ozil was something else. But then there were other times it's like, where is he? Jogi Löw didn't quite get the best of him for an extended period of time. He did initially, and then in the end, you didn't quite get the best of him. And we saw that example in the past World Cup. And so it's about Unai Emery coming into the locker room and saying, being very clear with Mesut Ozil and said, this is your role. And this is what we want you to do. And make it so clear for him that when he goes out on the field, he focuses on doing that. Not 10 things at a time, but those specific things that you want him to do.
How quickly does the coach have to fix this in terms of not letting it kind of deride what he's doing elsewhere, with tough games obviously behind them, tougher fixtures coming up? If he gets results without him, you would think it would make it easier. But if that doesn't quite go to plan, if he is having those communication issues, sometimes he comes in and does well, sometimes he's a sort of peripheral figure. How quickly does he have to get this done before it becomes a bigger story?
Well, okay, so I just don't quite understand initially why Unai Emery came in and all of a sudden gave Mesut Ozil the captain's armband. And then I'm thinking, oh, no. I mean, maybe he's trying to get a reaction out of him. Maybe we want more leadership from you. But if that's not natural to you, you can't just force it upon a player. And so it's almost as if he's trying to massage the situation, which I can understand when you first come into a locker room. But you have to establish yourself as a manager. You're the decision maker, and you're going to have to make that clear to Mesut Ozil and everybody else. And if you have to make an example Mesut Ozil, you do that. I just don't know, with Arsenal as a squad, when you see the talent personnel that they have available, that you are in a position where you can just make a case and say, well, I'm going to make an example Mesut Ozil, and I'm going to sacrifice results. That's when it gets tricky. Because you can make an example all you want, but if you're not winning on the weekends, then people are going to ask questions about, hey, how about your highest paid player? How about that guy? We need that guy out on the field because he can give us a chance to win. That's the question that everybody has had about Mesut Ozil. Is he good enough to be just a passenger on a team, or is he the sort of guy that you just say, you know what, he's had plenty of opportunities and we got to move on from him?
Ricardo, Tuca Ferretti is the new interim Mexico manager, at least for the upcoming dates in September in the United States, where Mexico will play against Uruguay and the United States. Ale, what do you make of this? He's come in for the second time. A safe choice, really, while they kind of defer their choice for who's going to permanently take over? It's a logical choice. It's a substitute teacher that you already know, and that players actually do care and respect, and I think he'll just come in with a plan in place. He knows he's not going to be there long term. He knows it's just an interim sort of caretaker type thing. And that gives you some freedom to choose the players that you think will be good for Mexico in the future. Maybe you have an evaluation process, but it's an evaluation process that has really nothing to do with him, because in the end, all he's doing is making sure that the boat is still going and straightforward, and that's it. And there isn't much for him to do. This is for a couple of games, and then they'll make a decision as to who the next manager will be, and people will move on. So it's logical, it's safe. He's a guy that has done this in the past, has had experience with this, and the players actually know him and respect him. So I have no issues whatsoever. I do, however, have an issue with the Mexican Federation taking their sweet time finding who the next manager is going to be. And so if they're going to take their time, better make sure it's the right choice. What kind of attributes do they need to have, basically following on from Juan Carlos Osorio? Well, and that's the thing. Managers coming to coach the Mexican national team should understand that it's not just about managing the team, that there's a whole lot of interest that pull that position in a whole lot of different directions. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of expectation for this team to do special things, and it doesn't always match the talent level that he will have available. And so for me, it's just whoever's coming in should understand that right away, that there is interest within this federation that are very powerful, and that
your decisions sometimes may not be your decisions. Those decisions may come from somewhere else, and how you're able to handle that may just be the difference between you being a long-term solution or not so.
Maybe speaks to the fact that it always appears to be a very complex decision. So Tuca Ferretti is in, at least for a couple of games, and we'll see how they go from there. It's still early doors, of course, in the European season, but another weekend of action means we have another week of power rankings on ESPN FC. Ali Moreno's with us. Top 10 here in the power rankings. Ali, we've got 3 players from Serie A, 3 from Ligue 1, a couple from La Liga, and only Alexander Mitrovic from the Premier League. But he makes the top 3.
Okay, excellent. I'm supposed to be excited. Is that what
Yes.
it is? Okay. I must say, I saw this list when it popped up in our emails, and I just went, ooh, 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 ooh. It just told me that it wasn't a great weekend of play across Europe. There weren't a whole lot of games. There weren't a whole lot of individuals, outstanding performances, because usually in order to get into this list, you're either scoring a hat-trick, you're scoring a couple of goals, you're having a tremendous performance, dominant performance. Here, we have a couple of guys that had 1 goal here, 1 goal there, a couple of assists here, a couple of goals there, and somehow they're in the top 10. I would tell you, Marco Reus is in this list. Okay, fine. They won 4-1 at home against Leipzig. You may think that that result, it was a runaway victory by Borussia Dortmund, and it was not. And it was because Roman Bürki was excellent. So if he's going to be in this list, his goalkeeper has to be in this list as well, simply because he kept Borussia Dortmund in an area in which all of a sudden they're comfortable in the game, but it wasn't such. It was his performance and the saves that he made. He had a tremendous, outstanding performance, so he should be here. As for the top 5, it's hard for me to get excited about Peter Zielinski. I suppose it was a good performance. Gareth Bale continues to play well, and he will need to continue to play well because he's going to be critical to the success of Real Madrid. I cannot even tell you, Alexander Mitrovic. How come I get excited about Mitrovic? I don't know. Kylian Mbappe, you might as well just put him in this list for the rest of the year because he continues to play well. And Thomas Müller scores a goal in a game against Hoffenheim. Bayern Munich should be beating Hoffenheim. Not too much to get excited about, but I suppose he has earned a place in the top 5.
Lovely assist for the last goal, and he had 1 ruled out, which came off his arm as well.
Okay. And so that gets him in the top 10?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. VAR has to be considered for all of this stuff.
What's the criteria?
I don't know.
It's a moving target, apparently.
I don't know. It is a moving target. Giovanni Simeone scores in front of his dad. Fiorentina scores 6. We've got Marco Benassi, who got a couple of those goals. High on Fiorentina this year?
How about we wait on Fiorentina? Huh? This is not the Fiorentina of Attitude and Rui Costa. So let's relax and let's see what Giovanni Simeone ends up becoming. We're not quite sure as to what his ceiling is. He's shown a lot of promise. He's shown to be a player that can be dangerous, that can score goals. We'll see what he becomes. But let's just relax both on Fiorentina and Giovanni Simeone.
All right, okay. So there's a great look at the power rankings for this weekend. Next weekend, we'll try and get Ali's juices flowing a little bit more. What's the word?
I'm not quite sure. You're the host here.
Flowing.
Oh, great. Creative.